Hey friends, it's Steph. Today I'm going to be explaining my content cake. So I get a lot of questions about this. I thought I'd make a video, try to answer as many as I can. First of all, what is it? A content cake, like this one here. You can call it a zombie cake, a Franken cake, practice cake, dummy cake, whatever you call it, the concept is the same. It's a cake that gets reused over and over for decorating practice. At the core, it can either be cake, like mine is, or styrofoam. One of the questions that I get asked a lot is why I don't use styrofoam. And part of that is because styrofoam's more wasteful because the styrofoam isn't biodegradable. Also, because they're really light and so they kind of get pushed around on the cake stand. People have suggested taping them down, but I don't feel the need to go purchase something that's styrofoam, which will never biodegrade when I have these cakes that I've already messed up. Mine are all old cakes that didn't turn out. So I just moved, I have a new oven that isn't my friend yet, so I baked a few cake layers up that didn't turn out, and so rather than throwing them out, I frosted them with some leftover buttercream and threw them in my freezer. Now I have them to use as content cakes, and they're free essentially because they would have been garbage anyways, and when I do get rid of them eventually, they can go in the compost. So this is one of them. It's a very small version, but I have this other guy sitting in the back here that's a 5-inch. Still has its decoration on it. So I like to have a couple different sizes depending on the design I want to do. So I've got my mini, which I'm going through the monochrome mini series with right now, and then this little bit bigger 5-inch one. I used to have an 8-inch one, which was way too big because you end up using a lot of frosting. Speaking of frosting, obviously I'm reusing the cake itself, but I also reuse the frosting. So I'll scrape it off and then I roll it into these icing sausages and put it back in the freezer until I want to make a cake with that same color again. When it's one like my Neapolitan cake where it's brown, pink, and vanilla all mixed together, I'll save all those colors and then I'll mix them all together. And sometimes it makes a really cool color and I'll go ahead and use that. Sometimes it looks awful, so I'll darken it with some cocoa to make it a chocolate color, or even dye it black and do a black cake. So if you look carefully, you'll notice that my content cakes often change color from lighter colors to darker and darker colors, and that's just me reusing the frosting and dyeing it darker and darker to get different shades as I go. Now, there are obviously some components that I can't reuse, like if I'm topping it with sprinkles or a chocolate drip, or certain toppers, I won't be able to reuse those, which is why I like to use a mini cake, because that means that I'm minimizing the amount of stuff that gets wasted. So if I do a chocolate drip on the mini cake, I only need about 1/4 cup of ganache, versus on a bigger cake, or even the big 8-inch cake I used to have, I'd be using 1/2 cup to 1 cup of it. So the mini cake helps reduce waste. But sometimes with the design I want to do, you got to go up a size just so that it looks proportional and it looks right, and that's when I'll use the bigger cake. Another very common question is, do they get moldy? Answer is no. They live in the freezer, so they're in the freezer all the time when I'm not decorating them. That helps it stay fresh, although I would never eat them because this one's a couple months old. This one's a bit younger, but still getting up there. I think actually 3 or 4 months old. My old one had been reused dozens of times. So no, I will never eat them because although I'm sure they would actually be edible, I don't think that they would taste very good. They'd probably just be freezer burnt. But they don't get mold because they stay in the fridge, in the freezer. And how do I store them in the freezer? Literally just like this. This one's on a plate because the cake board got a little messy because this is the one Tyler was working on. But I usually just stick them in the freezer as is. No plastic wrap, no coating, no box, because I'm not trying to keep them fresh because I don't really care. I think one time I got asked if I came up with this idea, and no, I didn't. Bakers have been doing this for years and years. Like I remember when I was a kid, we'd walk past those wedding bakeries and you would see the big cakes in the window. Those were all fake. Most of them were the styrofoam cake dummies, which I mentioned I don't like to use. But yeah, I did not come up with the idea. People have been doing this for eons. Yeah. Trying to think of answered all the questions, so I'll do a quick recap, quick summary. What is a content cake? Content cake, also known as a zombie cake, a Franken cake, or a dummy cake, is a cake that cake decorators use to practice their techniques and content creators use to create content without being as wasteful as making a fresh cake every time. A question that I might get is, why don't you make a fresh cake every time? And that's because I cannot possibly eat a cake every single day, and I would like to be able to create content almost every single day. Why don't I give those cakes away? Costs money, and it costs more time to bake the cakes fresh every time. So I'm saving time by not having to bake a cake every time. I'm saving ingredients by not having to make the fillings every time. and reusing the frostings, so that saves me some time as well on making frosting. And I just couldn't afford to continue to purchase ingredients for a fresh cake every day. So saves time, saves money. Other questions. What size is it? This one's, I think, a 3-inch, but the size changes over time. The more you decorate it, it'll get thicker, and then you cut a bunch of the frosting off and it gets thinner. So it kind of depends, but I like to go with smaller cakes to reduce all the waste, and it saves a little bit of frosting. Will I ever eat them? No. I might try it for fun sometime in a video, if you guys want to see that. When a content cake is done, I might take a bite before I throw it out. I don't know, I'm willing to risk it just to see what it looks like, see what it tastes like. I don't think it would be bad, it would just be freezer burnt. Do they go moldy? No, they don't. They live in my freezer. Do I put them in boxes? Do I tape them up? No, they just go in the freezer as is. Did I come up with this idea? Nope, it's a baking classic. Please let me know if you have any more questions. I'd be happy to answer them. I think that it's such a cool way to reduce, reuse, and recycle. May you continue to reduce, reuse, recycle, and happy baking.